Hello everybody, Joe here with Garden of Luma, and I am back indoors today for this video because we continue to have cold weather here in the Phoenix, Arizona area. I'm in zone 9B in the desert here, and this winter has been unusually cold. We have been back in the lower 30s, supposed to get in the upper 20s again tonight. This has been about the third or fourth stretch of this throughout the winter time this year. It just seems like every time I move everything back outdoors or take the frost protection down for a few days as it warms up a bit, then we plummet back down into the freezing temps again for lows at night. We've only been like in the 50s a lot for daytime highs too, which is pretty unusual here for a hot climate like the desert. And so today I want to take you guys indoors to show you guys my Carrie Mango tree. Here is Carrie here, my Carrie Mango tree. And she is getting the royal treatment. She is in my living room right now. All the rest of my potted trees are in the garage, but she was lucky enough to be moved here in the living room right next to this window here. I wanted to continue to give her some light because as you can see, she is trying to push out some flowers here. You can see some of the flower buds going on up top here and around. Been a little confused with our changes in weather here. Typically, she's flowering around early February. It is February 19th right now. And so it's been confusing because it's been a little bit warm at times, then really cold, and just kind of inconsistent with our weather here in Phoenix, Arizona this winter. We haven't really had a very steady stream of warm days. It's been just a few here and there, followed by cold and just up and down. So she's wanting to flower and push out flowers, but I think this will flush out a lot more as we get warmer here into March. So I'll probably have a later crop of mangoes off of this tree. And as you can see, this tree is quite scraggly. I have branches kind of everywhere. I really need to figure out a way to just prune this tree back after the fruiting season this year. I've learned a lot from growing mango trees from when I first purchased this tree. I purchased this in spring of 2016. And so I've learned to, when you purchase a 3-gallon tree, the typical smaller size tree that you get, a starter size fruit tree, it's a good idea to prune it back initially to start the shaping process of the tree. Because typically those trees are grown to a taller size for resale value because they look good when they're taller and bigger. But as you can see here, this taller shoot of the trunk, it's growing more of a long central leader. I probably should have cut it right there initially, and that's probably what I'll do. Because as you can see, the top is really scraggly here. I had a branch that came off of here, but in one of the cold snaps last year or 2 years ago, it killed this branch off of the side. So now it's really unbalanced up top, growing just kind of shorter branches, and I just don't like the way it's growing right now. And then you can see some longer branches just kind of dangling over there. And so I really need to figure out a way to prune this back. If you guys have any tips or ideas, go ahead and share those in the comments. But it's a really good idea when you're buying younger mango trees to start the shaping and pruning early on when you first plant the tree. I've definitely learned my lesson in some of my other mangoes that I have in the ground. I have 4 mango trees altogether. This is the only one that I have growing in a container. But my other mango trees that are in the ground, their shapes look a lot better because I did prune them early on and start that shaping process that you want to do to build a good structure to these trees when you first plant them, especially at a younger size. So here is Carrie, and so she put off 5 mangoes last year for the first time I allowed this tree to fruit. Like I said, I planted it 2016. And so the first year, I removed all the blossoms up until the year of 2018. So I wanted it to do a lot of vegetative growth that first year or two to get somewhat of a structure going on before I let this fruit. And then I let it fruit last year for the first time and was able to try 5 Carrie Mangoes. And Carrie Mangoes are really excellent tasting mangoes. Very floral, they have a really bold taste to them. And very juicy, the flesh just like melts in your mouth. So there isn't a whole lot of just like structure to it. I mean, it just melts right in your mouth. Very excellent tasting mango. I highly recommend this variety. And so Carrie Mangoes are considered a semi-dwarf tree, which makes it more compatible for container growing. When you're growing mango trees in containers, it is a good idea to get dwarf or semi-dwarf varieties or condo mangoes. So you have varieties like Namdok Mai, Irwin, Ice Cream. Pickering is a really good variety for containers, Coggeshall. So there's a lot of different varieties. Julie is another one that naturally have a compact growth habit and are just a little better suited for containers because they don't like to get as huge as some of the other varieties like Valencia Pride and things like that. So definitely consider a dwarf or semi-dwarf or condo type of mango when you're growing in containers. But in our desert climate, grafted mango trees in general just tend to stay smaller anyways because of our climate conditions here. With getting really hot in the summertime here, I mean, we can get up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit, so that kind of slows the growth down in the summer months, as well as our cold in the winter can kind of keep these guys scaled back a little bit too with some of the frost damage that can happen on the outer limbs and leaves and things. So grafted mangoes in my climate in zone 9B outside of the tropics tend to stay on the smaller side. I don't see very many really large size mango trees in my area. So really any mango you can grow in a container here in my climate, in a climate that's cooler than the tropics. But still probably a good idea to stick with the dwarf, semi-dwarf, condo types of mangoes. I do see seedling mango trees here in my area that have gotten pretty large, maybe 15, 20 feet. And so those trees still can get fairly large here, but still, I mean, if you're outside of a tropical environment that these trees really thrive in, the climates are just going to keep these types of trees in check. I use a potting mix that is suited for cactus and palm trees here. This is readily available in a lot of our big box stores and different places here, nurseries. Being in the desert, we grow a lot of cactus here. As far as other areas, I'm not sure if you guys have this type of soil or not, but this soil has a lot of things like sand, lava sand, things that really promote good drainage. You don't want a lot of just heavy soil, soil that retains a lot of moisture when you're growing fruit trees in containers. You want good drainage. I do another video that I recently did. The last time I had to move all my fruit trees indoors for a cold snap. That goes more in depth on how to grow fruit trees in containers, so definitely give that one a look here. But here it is. Here's Carrie Mango tree, a few different tips there. In the growing season, I use a lot of fish emulsion, liquid seaweed, liquid kelp. I top my fruit trees off with compost a couple times a year through the growing season. I make a compost out of rabbit manure and things that I have, so that's primarily what I use to feed my mango trees. And so I do periodically use some chelated iron. We have some iron deficiencies in our area with high salts in our water and things. You can kind of see some of the salt burn on some of the leaves. So that's an issue with our high pH in our water as well as in-ground mangoes in the soil here. So I use a little chelated iron as well as iron in a foliar feed that I apply. And that is pretty much it. I've been trying some manganese sulfate this year on some of my mangoes to see if that'll help green the leaves up as well. But there is my Carrie Mango tree, some tips on growing mangoes in containers. If you like these videos, definitely subscribe. I do update videos on Wednesdays and Saturdays, so definitely subscribe and stay updated. Check out my blog at gardenofluma.com for more in-depth tips on gardening and growing fruit trees, specifically for hot, dry climates. Thanks for watching.